Love, peace, and prosperity. I know you haven't seen me for a while. I've been real busy. I've been working out a lot more, been at work, etc., etc. Still learning, still trying to figure this thing out with, YouTube. I must get a better computer. But right now it's not in the budget, but I'm gonna keep going. I have a little something for everyone who may watch this video to think about today. And I'm going to start it out by telling my own personal story on this subject. I remember growing up, because I'm one of those children that was born out of wedlock. No one, no adult ever called me a bastard or an illegitimate child to my face. But I remember being around adults in church, in school, in other places, you know what I'm saying? And these are adults that's close to me in some situation. And they'll be in a conversation will come up, and they'll be talking about someone else. And they will use these words referring to a child. They mainly talking about the woman. Sometimes they talking about the dudes, but they mainly be talking about the woman. Man, that girl, she done sat up there and messing around and had that little bastard illegitimate child. You know what I'm saying? And they throw these words out. Bastard, illegitimate. Now again, myself and other children, we're not being called a bastard or illegitimate directly, even though some children did. They were called a bastard or illegitimate to their face. In my case, that didn't happen. Now, these words have an effect on children. This is one of the reasons, amongst many, where a child can grow up with an inferiority complex. This can make a child feel like they are less than. They are not worthy. But you're in such a habit of it because of your programming that this is what people do to this day. It still happens. It still happens. Also, these words go into the ears of the children who were born into wedlock. And some of them, not all, some of them grow up with a superiority complex. They feel as though they are greater than their classmates or family members that were born out of wedlock. Now, you can get mad at me if you want to, but this is the way it is. And it ain't right. Now, where did this come from? It mainly comes from generation after generation after generation of religious programming. The religious programming is what has locked many of us into a cycle of destroying children's mind with this whole mentality the whole time they're growing up. And a lot of times the child don't even realize it. There's so many things that happen to us in childhood. We just now starting to get the evidence of how words affect us. You know what I'm saying? Mental health and all of these different things that people are going through. It's mainly based on the religious programming. But what's funny is about the religious programming is this. It tells you to have the baby in wedlock, right? Which is a good thing. It's a good thing to be married and have your children. But my mind has expanded to a point where it doesn't have to be a marriage on paper. It can be a marriage on paper. It could be a marriage where you have a commitment ceremony, but it needs to be a committed, loving relationship. But it doesn't have to be on paper. It doesn't have to be in a church somewhere. It doesn't have to be in any type of religious building, whatever the person's faith may be. But the same religious program also says, and particularly in Christianity, you can be married, have a baby, but every child is still born in sin. Make that make sense to me. It doesn't make any sense to me. No sense at all. But this is Big Mike's point of view. I'm gonna give you Big Mike's point of view. Every baby that is born, is born with goodness, love, talent, power beyond measure. Some of that goodness, love, talent, them things, it's just gonna naturally come out and develop on its own. Some of it has to be pulled out of the child, which is what teaching and training is. A lot of things is already inside of us. We're born with almost with everything we need, but it's lying dormant inside of us. That's where a teacher and a trainer comes along. Because that's really what you're doing, is you pulling that greatness, you pulling that knowledge that's already there, it's already in the child's DNA, you pulling it out of them. This is what Big Mike point of view say, this is what I say, right? Because what religion says is child born out of wedlock is illegitimate, inferior, bastard. What religion says child born in wedlock is good and superior. All these things is going into our subconscious. So I'm gonna try to put something else out there in the wind, in the universe, into your subconscious. And this is what I'm gonna put out there. I'm gonna say it again. Every child is born with love, talent, goodness, greatness. It's just up to the adults and the people in their life, their family and everything, to bring that out of them. It's already there. Don't be sitting up here putting these labels on these babies based on your religious programming. It don't make any sense. Sit down and think about it for a minute. There's so many things that, you know, people been doing, they just been doing because everybody did the generation before them. I don't know if you ever heard about the experiment or whatever with the monkeys and even with people. They got all of them. They got them on YouTube now. You know, they got people that come into a room, they're all sitting there, they waiting on something. I think it's a job interview or something. And every time this sound goes off, the ones who doing the programming, who know what's up, they stand up. Then what happens is other people just stand up because they see everybody else stand up when the sound goes off. And eventually, those people leave the room for whatever it is, job interview, whatever, fake job interview, whatever it is. And what happens is you have all the people that's in there now were not there originally. But when the sound goes off, they all stand up. That's programming. So many things, we don't know where it comes from. And this is one of them. And you want to say, well, Big Mike, is it personal to you? Yeah, it's kind of personal. Because once I became conscious of it, that this was being placed into my subconscious mind, it bothered me. And I had to reprogram my subconscious and conscious mind to say that I am legitimate. I am worthy. Because when you saying all of that other stuff that was programmed into your mind to say to children, to say around them, what you're telling them is that they're not worthy. You're telling them that they're not legitimate. So you have to fight fear and ignorance with love. The words of fear and ignorance have to be fought with love. You have to tell yourself, even though you may not have been born in wedlock, you have to tell yourself that you are loved. You are loved. You are legitimate. You are worthy. I am legitimate. I am love. I am worthy. Each one of you out there that may have been born and it wasn't in wedlock, tell yourself that, because that's the real truth. All that religious programming BS, that's just BS that has been programmed into people from generation after generation. I'm Big Mike, and that's my point of view.